How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to 𝐅𝐎𝐎𝐍. This is a quick match preview of the Wolves game, the first game of the season and the first match preview of 2022-2023. I am filming this very late at night. I have been mad busy all week, guys. I do apologise for that, but I did want to get this video out before the game because it is a match preview at the end of the day. So, going into this game, first game of the season, I really don't know what to expect. To be totally honest with you, I don't know what to expect. Let us know in the comments what you're expecting from this game. I really don't know what to expect. I think this is the stage of the season where you just see what every team's got. You know, it's all well and good us making predictions, saying what we can expect, what's a good season, what's a bad season, all these different bits and pieces. But ultimately, no matter how much analysis you do on pre-season, how teams played last season, signings made, signings that have gone out, transfers out, you know, the gist, all these different bits and pieces. Ultimately, we don't know where teams are at until this first couple of games of the season. And certainly this weekend, it gives you a much better indicator where teams are at. And nonetheless, that's certainly the case with Leeds, really. Essentially, going into this Wolves game is a bit like going on a blind date, really. It's probably the closest analogy I can think of. I just don't know what to expect. You know, it might be a case of we fall in love with this particular new Leeds team at first sight, you know, on this first game of the season, or people are trying to leave before the main course. You know, that's essentially what we're facing here, to try and pull it into an analogy, because that's what it feels like. I really don't know what to expect at all. It's probably the first time on an 𝐅𝐎𝐎𝐍 going into a season on 𝐅𝐎𝐎𝐍 where I've really not been able to give you any kind of idea what I think is going to happen. I really don't know what to expect at all. Good, bad, average, I don't know. But all I will say is Jesse Marsch, you know, made a big impact last season in terms of keeping us in the league. Already got a great deal of credit in the bank for me for that, no doubt about it. And I will fully back Jesse Marsch to do the job that I think he's doing this season, which is to stabilise the club in every single sense. You know, getting these new signings into the team and, you know, almost regrowing the team, you know, in terms of from the Bielsa era as such. You know, I think that's the key thing really this season. And for me, anything around mid-table, I think will be a really good season. Obviously, a cup run would be a bonus, but I think the main thing is getting these new signings into the team and really redeveloping this team to an extent. You know, in terms of, you know, yeah, just in that kind of sense, it's what I'm hoping for this season is just a bit more stability and not the stress of last season. And anything else on top of that, I think will be a bonus. Is my personal opinion, but let us know in the comments down below. For what it's worth, if you haven't watched my prediction video with Scott, I did predict 14th this season, and I think that would be a decent season right now. So yeah, I think the key thing is going into this game is managing expectations. You know, yes, I know Wolves finished last season badly. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They have got a key injury to Raul Jimenez. Morgan Gibbs-White, again, whether he starts this game or not is to be seen. Apparently, he has been in talks with Nottingham Forest at the time of speaking. So that's two potential key players missing for Wolves going into this game. But what I will still say is that if you go through Wolves' potential starting 11 going into this game, having spoken to Dave from Talking Wolves, make sure you check out that video as well. Very, very good indicator in terms of what to expect from Wolves. Good insight given from Dave, as always. But one of the key things he said was that Wolves have changed to a back four in pre-season, which I think does offer a totally new dynamic on the game. They're going to play the midfield three, most likely. So a 4-3-3 system. It feels like the back two centre-backs will be Nathan Collins and Max Kilman, which I think is a very, very good centre-back pairing on paper. Jose Sá is a very strong goalkeeper. Ruben Neves, João Moutinho, Pedro Neto. So there's a lot of really good players in this Wolves team. And this Wolves team's been together for a long time. So I think right now it's not unpopular, I don't think, to say that Wolves are probably better placed than us going into this season, just purely from experience in terms of being able to get off to a quick start to the season. So I'm not going to panic too much if things do go wrong in this first particular game. Obviously, you want to see us at the very least, what's the best word for it? I think at the very least, you want to see us hold our own in this game. You know, use the crowd, use the energy from the crowd on the first game of the season. I think it's the key thing. Even if we can't get the result, you know, I think obviously at the very least, I'm hoping for a draw in this game. But even if we can't get the result, we've got to show signs of progression from last season. In terms of playing style, general organisation, the whole idea has to be there. I think or we have to see parts of the idea at the very least, really, because we have had that pre-season now. In terms of excuses in that kind of sense, they've gone now. We've got that pre-season. We've been able to bring in new signings. This is what should be closer to a Jesse Marsch team, and that's certainly the hope, I think, going into this game. Last year, it has to be said, I think we put in again, sorry guys, I'm just looking at my notes. I made a lot of notes on this. I do always like to make notes when I do a pre-recorded video. But last year, I felt we did put in 2 really good performances against Wolves. The home game, I think we probably could have won on another day. And certainly the away game, yes, Wolves went down to 10 men, but I thought the way we came back into that game and kept ourselves in the game at key moments, allowed us to do that. And obviously scoring 3 goals away at Molineux is no mean feat. Wolves have got a superb defensive record. They've got one of the best defences, not just outside the top 6, in the whole league, statistically. They've added Nathan Collins. They've gone to a back 4. They're probably going to control games a little bit more with a midfield 3. So, yeah, this is a very, very difficult game that we're going into. So I do think it might be a slightly different-ish kind of style of game. I think last season we saw Wolves kind of sit off in a low block and also have a lot of the ball in both games. I get the sense that with a midfield 3, possibly Dendoncker, Neves, Moutinho, they probably will have a little bit more of the ball than they normally would in a game like this. But at the same time, I think you've got a really interesting midfield battle there between Marc Roca, Tyler Adams, and that Wolves midfield. I think the strength of our team, I feel, going into the season, the most settled part of our team at this moment in time, based on pre-season, feels like the midfield. I'm not going to say that for certain, but it feels at this moment in time, that's our most settled point of the team. Potentially going forward with Sinisterra coming back, Harrison hopefully staying. Maybe if we get a striker in, or Bamford does fully come back to the 2020, 2021 form and stay injury-free. Maybe it could be the attack that's a strong point, but I feel that Roca Adams have formed such a good partnership early doors, or Adams Roca, whatever way you want to say it. They've formed a really good partnership early doors. So that feels to me like a strength of our team in terms of playing at the back, being able to keep the ball. And that's a key thing, I think, for this Leeds team, because ultimately, out of possession, we are very open. And there's no doubt about that. And that partly leads me on to the next bit in terms of talking about this game from a tactical point of view. I think it's very, very clear under Jesse Marsch that the fullbacks are very, very key to keeping the width in this team. We've seen Harrison play very narrow. We've seen Sinisterra play very narrow. Brendan Aronson play very narrow. It feels to me like certainly the fullbacks are effectively almost wingers in the system. So it does feel like Rasmus Christensen, Pascal, assuming it's Pascal at left back, will effectively be playing very high up the pitch. So it's imperative that we keep the ball as well as we can, because if we're losing the ball all the time, we're going to find Rasmus and Pascal out of position. And it's bad enough in terms of Wolves being able to play out of our press, but if we give the ball back to Wolves, with silly unforced errors, then that does produce problems, because you obviously got the likes of Pedro Neto, Pedence on the counter attack. When we're very, very high up the pitch, it could be a big problem for us. And just to say as well, I think obviously in terms of when we press, we really do press. We commit the whole team to the press, including the back 4. So we are very, very high up the pitch. We're defending with a very high line. I've spoken to Phil about this on the player ratings for the Calgary game. We are pushing that defensive line very high up the pitch. And I think Wolves, you can't ignore the fact I think they have got more technical quality than your standard team outside the top 6. I do think the likes of Neves, Moutinho are very, very good technically. Kilman, Nathan Collins is a player I've been very impressed by. They've got good technical quality in that team who can play through the press, and potentially, I do feel we're going to have some nervy moments in this game. I'm not saying we're going to lose the game because of this, but I feel at the very least we're going to have nervy moments where Pedro Neto does get in behind that back line and get into that space between the back line and Illan Meslier. So yeah, you might see some of the problems of this system in this game because Wolves can be counter-attacking. They might look to get those opportunities to catch Rasmus Christensen, Pascal Struijk out of position because we like to push the fullback so high. But I'm not sure we should change our system, because at the end of the day, we have been creating a lot of chances in general in pre-season, or certainly more than what we were before we made this new these new signings. Certainly Rasmus Christensen is someone who I think in a game like this can be influential. Jack Harrison can be influential. We have got attacking threat in this game, so I think to fully utilise it, we have to get as many players forward as possible because we are playing so narrow. You need that width. You need the fullbacks to stay high. So I don't think it's a case of we drop a bit deeper to react to Pedro Neto, or we don't push the fullbacks high because we're worried about the spacing behind us. I think we've got to really fight fire with fire almost. And I think that's going to be the nature of our season, really, is that we're going to have a lot of end-to-end games, maybe a bit like the first season in the Premier League under Bielsa. I do feel that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be entertaining this season. I might be wrong, but I do feel it's going to be entertaining on the pitch. But there might be some frustrating times where we concede a lot of goals because we're playing such an open style of football. But I don't mind. As long as we're entertaining, getting there enough results to push us up the table, I don't really mind. The odd game where it might go horribly wrong. But yeah, that's kind of the general impression, really, of this game. In terms of Wolves are very stubborn defensively. We are going to have to get as many players forward as we can to break them down, to create that space, to have the overloads in the wide areas, to really stretch Wolves and just create opportunities from that. I think that's ultimately a key thing. Likes of Dan James, Joffrey could be very, very key off the bench. I'm assuming they won't start this game. But I think obviously from last season, you saw how key Joffrey was in getting us back into the game at Ellen Road. Dan James, I think just having that pace to stretch the pitch. Yes, of course, there's still question marks about his end products, but I think we will probably still see that front four that started the game and finished the game actually in the last pre-season friendly. I think it will be Aronson tucked in on that right-hand side, Rodrigo through the middle, Harrison playing quite narrow on the left, and Patrick Bamford up top. So maybe we will need that bit more pace into the front four to bring on a Dan James, potentially late on against tired Wolves defence. Maybe it could be an option, but yeah, the 5 subs will be an interesting dynamic as well. Seeing that for the first time in the Premier League game will be an interesting one. There's lots of interesting dynamics, in terms of if we can get a result, then it would be a massive bonus. It would be an absolutely massive bonus. And when I say result, I mean a win. I think we've got to be aiming to get something from this. We are at home at the end of the day, but yeah, if we can win this game, it's a massive bonus. But I still think we are a little bit away from our strongest 11. Obviously with Sinisterra out, question marks over the left back situation, question marks over the striker situation. I still think there is 1 or 2 areas in that starting 11 where we've got to be looking at in the transfer market. I think we will be doing so. I'm not going to panic too much if things do go wrong in this game, because I think there is still business to be done, in terms of reading between the lines of what Phil Hayes said. Obviously we've seen lots of transfer rumours at this moment in time. I do still feel this isn't the Leeds team fully at strength because of the injuries we've got with Sinisterra and Firpo, and maybe players that we will bring in. So, yeah, try and keep perspective. It's easier said than done, but if things do go wrong towards the start of the game, I don't think we should panic too much. Obviously, if it goes horribly wrong and there's no performance there, we lose the game heavily, all these different bits and pieces. But I do think at the very least we will give a good account of ourselves and hopefully we can get the result. But again, might sound like a negative one. It's not intended to be negative. I just don't know what to expect in this game. In terms of result-wise, I don't know what to expect. It won't surprise me. Any result, Leeds win, draw, Wolves win, it won't surprise me any result. But I will give a prediction anyway, because this is a preview. I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds, and a pretty entertaining game by the standards of a typical Leeds-Wolves match. But first goal's key. Again, first goal's key. Because I don't want a situation where I'm having to try and break this Wolves team down, more so than usual, because Wolves will probably try and sit in if they do go 1 goal ahead. We have seen that in the past with Wolves. So first goal is very important. We need to get off to a good start and just show what we're about, and just use that Ellen Road atmosphere and rebuild that connection is the key thing this season between the fans and the players. I felt last season we lost a bit of that. Naturally, obviously with Bielsa leaving, 1 or 2 obviously massive players for this football club leaving as well. Not in bad circumstances. Listen, I think everyone connected to Leeds wishes Rafinha and Calvin Phillips the best, and other players that have moved on. But ultimately, it is about, this is a new team now, really, in a lot of areas. It's a new team. It's about connecting the fans the team, management, everyone back together again, just like we did in that first season under Marcelo Bielsa. And what a great place to start. If we can get this win on Saturday, we can give a good performance, energetic performance. A Stoke City, that first game under Bielsa. I know this isn't strictly Jesse Marsch's first game, but if we can give that kind of performance, then what a boost that'll be. Because I do think these first two games can be got at. Wolves, Southampton, I think Everton's in there early doors as well. Brentford's towards the start of September. It's not, on paper at least, it's not too bad a first run of fixtures. Yes, there's a Chelsea game to come in as well, Brighton away. But it's a Premier League, and you get difficult games. So as the first two games go, there is an opportunity to potentially get 4 points, 3 or 4 points on the board early doors. And that really will help us, I think, because there will be some teams who lose both games early doors. And that gives, all of a sudden, you've already got a bit of a gap opened up on the bottom three, which I think is as key as possible. Moving away from that bottom three as quickly as possible this season. I've been rambling a little bit, guys, but there's a lot to talk about. It's been a long pre-season. Lots has been done. Lots of games. And I think it's difficult to just cram it all into one video, but that's my thoughts on the game anyway. My preview. Make sure you smash the like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Check out Scott's preview of the game, the opposition preview, and there will be a predicted lineup as well. And of course, the watch along. What else have we got? My voice went really weird there. Went really super high there. I don't know why. And the post-match reaction as well to the game and player ratings with Phil later as well. And don't forget the big match preview ahead of the game on Friday night as well. So check that out, guys. Hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 30k, and you guys will help us get there. See you later, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Let's get that win early doors.